Hey everybody, it's Kevin here from Happy Beard Games, and today is a Famicom Friday. A Friday where I play a Famicom game, do a Famicom pickup or review, and it's all focused on Famicom, Super Famicom, and mostly Japanese language video games. Now these are all once again from RetroGamesJapan.com. So I've gotten here before. This is probably the 4th or 5th time that I've ordered from them. And the grand total of these are actually more than last week's video. Last week we had 6 games. This week we have 5 once again, all for the Super Famicom. And it is a total of $68.60. That's pretty big. One of these games was actually over $30, but the rest were more like the last week's video. Alright guys, the first game is a classic from Squaresoft, Final Fantasy V. Yes, that's a big one. Final Fantasy V is an important JRPG, and it's an important game in your Final Fantasy or RPG collection, or even just Super Nintendo, Super Famicom collection. This is a great game. There's probably a translation patch. I think I downloaded one for this. I know I downloaded it for some of these other games already, just in advance. So I'll be playing this one on the RETRON 5. I can also play it on the modified Super Nintendo that I have, the original Super Nintendo. So it is playable on both. Final Fantasy V. Now this was part of a bundle. You might be guessing already what is bundled with this game. It's another Final Fantasy game for the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom. So here's this. Final Fantasy V. And the next game is hopefully the next one in that bundle, but we'll see. We'll get to that eventually, of course. The next game is not part of that bundle together, but it is part of the order, and that is Chrono Trigger. Yeah, Chrono Trigger. This is another Squaresoft game. As with many of the games in this package, there are Squaresoft classics, and I can't wait to check out Chrono Trigger on the Super Famicom. This is just like having the Super Nintendo cart, it's just in Japanese. It's different than the PlayStation 1 version, which I have, and there's also a DS version. There's a one on Steam as well, and on mobile phones, but this is the original Chrono Trigger. The original came out even before the Super Nintendo, so it's really cool to have Chrono Trigger. The artwork's kind of basic, just the title, similar to how they did Final Fantasy with just the title on the cover, but it's really cool to have Chrono Trigger, and this is a really great game. I can't say enough about it. If you don't know what Chrono Trigger is, just check it out. It has a great soundtrack, great gameplay. Akira Toriyama's artwork and art style, and which is also from Dragon Quest, which is an EX game, but this is a Squaresoft game, so it's really a great RPG. I haven't beaten it, but I've played a lot of it, and I really am excited for that one. Now this one is another Squaresoft game that was not localized in the North American region, and this is Bahamut Lagoon. Now, I don't know much about this one. The only reason I know about this game, and the only reason that I am familiar with it, is the soundtrack, because a long time ago on that website OC Remix, Overclocked Remix, I randomly downloaded some video game remixes from soundtracks. One of them was a theme to Bahamut Lagoon, and I really enjoyed it, so I've been wanting to check out this game for quite some time, like 10 years maybe. And, yeah, it's Squaresoft, Bahamut Lagoon. It's an RPG, but it's not like Final Fantasy, really. It might be more tactical, I think. Or like a real-time sort of tactic. I'm not really sure, but it has like a story RPG adventure as well. And the name Bahamut Lagoon just sounds really awesome. Next game, I actually forgot I ordered that one. So we've got 2 more. Here is one that I think is the other one from that order. Yes, it is. It's the second part of that Final Fantasy V bundle. Was a 2-pack for a low price. Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, Final Fantasy VI. Known in North America as Final Fantasy III originally for the Super Nintendo. And Final Fantasy V was not localized on the Super Nintendo, by the way. I forgot to mention that. But Final Fantasy VI is one of the greatest RPGs of all time. One of the greatest games of all time. And I just love the characters. I've been playing it recently on the PlayStation 3 off the PS1 disc. But this has better load times. It has the option to do different translation patches. It's a little more basic. I think I'm missing some things that the PlayStation 1 has, but in some ways it runs better. And it's the original version, so it's cool to have a cart of Final Fantasy VI. Now the final game is the one that cost about $34, $35. And once again, I did get a 7% off discount, so I got $6 or $7 off this order. So this was a big one. It's an expensive one. It's probably the most expensive Super Famicom game I have. And how could it be bigger than Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 5 and 6? Well, it's a Nintendo game, not a Squaresoft game. Super Metroid. I am so excited to have Super Metroid in my collection. Not only is it Super Metroid, which I played before and beaten before, but it is just cool to have the actual cart. This is one of those classic Nintendo, Super Nintendo games that I did not get as a kid. It's one of the very few ones, actually, that I didn't get as a kid. I got a lot of the mainstream, really popular, big Super Nintendo games. I already had Mario RPG. I already had all the Mario games. I had all the Zelda, the one Zelda that's on Super Nintendo. I had a lot of the big ones on Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was my first console as a kid, and that I had most of the time growing up. So yeah, Super Metroid. It's really cool to actually have this now. If you don't know it, it's the third Metroid game. The first was on the Nintendo NES, the second one was on the Game Boy. So Super Nintendo. It's regarded as one of the best, if not the best, Metroid game ever made. And it's the one that you kind of turn to when you're looking at a 2D Metroid. Yeah, it's really great. It's really fun. I can't say enough about it, but check it out. It also has a great soundtrack, similar to the Squaresoft games. Super Metroid. That's the final game in the package. But just real quick, we're going to recap what games we got. We got Super Metroid, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V, Chrono Trigger, and Bahamut Lagoon. Alright everybody, thanks for watching today's Happy Beard Games Famicom Friday. We checked out a pickups from RetroGamesJapan.com. We got some 5 awesome games. 4 of them are awesome Squaresoft RPG classics. One of them a Nintendo classic, Super Metroid. Real excited to check all these out. And you might see some of them in a future Famicom Friday gameplay or review. The next few videos are going to be reviews or gameplays for sure. Yeah, thanks for watching once again. You can check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where I have Happy Beard Game pages for each. And subscribe, like this video, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Alright everybody, thanks for watching once again. Bye!